What's up, guys? Dr. M3 here with Ed Bolian, and we're standing in front of this vehicle. I don't know really why, but tell us about this car, Ed.
This is the 2004 Mercedes CL55 AMG that I used in 2013 to set a new record for driving from New York to Los Angeles.
And what was the time? And what was the record that you beat?
We beat Alex Roy's record of 31 hours and 4 minutes with a new time of 28 hours and 50 minutes.
So how did that, the concept come to you that I wanted to do this? Was this something even before Alex did it?
Oh, sure, yeah. I've been planning it for about 10 years.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in high school, I'd seen the Cannonball Run movies and everything that goes into it, all the folklore and everything. And I actually interviewed Brock Yates as a senior project about the idea of Cannonball and automotive journalism and the whole idea just of that great American road trip and the coolest start and end points that you could think of.
And so, talk us through the process of planning, and then you're going to walk around the car and tell us all about this car.
Sure.
But how do you even come up with the concept or the plan to do? Because it's not as easy as just getting in the car. People will think, oh, I'm just going to go from LA, from New York to LA, and it'll be a piece of cake. And do it as quickly as you can. It's not that easy, is it?
No, not anymore. I mean, you can't just fly to New York, rent a car, and return it back in LA. So it comes down to car selection and car preparation, servicing, and then you have to deal with all the variables that are harder to control, like the cops and the weather and the traffic and the accidents and things not breaking and all that. And then a team to do it. And so over about a decade that we spent planning it, we were looking at different cars that met different criteria of being able to go fast and being stable, being comfortable, carrying a lot of fuel, having a good suspension, good brakes, and everything else that goes into it.
So that led you to this car?
Correct, yeah. So the big AMG Merc just seemed perfect. It's got 500 horsepower. It grows, as fast as we would ever need to. Carries a lot of fuel stock, but it's got an active suspension that allows it to level out and keep everything stable, even with 400 pounds of gasoline sitting behind you. So
you actually plan this, so like you said, it's to get from point A to point B with as few stops as possible. There are things you can't control, like the weather. So how was the weather on this trip from New York to LA?
Well, I was originally just looking at it as kind of a scouting run, just to see how everything would go, how it would feel, how the car would behave, and how we'd get through it. But the weather was perfect. There was no major traffic, no real construction. So all the things that could have gone bad and could have sidelined the attempt really didn't happen. And so we did really well for that reason. And fortunately, the car didn't break. It's a 2004 car, so it was 9 years old at the time. And it had about 115,000 miles on it when we drove it, but we had just gone through everything. Change anything consumable, every type of servicing imaginable.
So that's it. For something like this, preparation is absolutely key and essential. Yeah. And like you said, it took 10 years to kind of, put it all together, kind of figure out what exactly we want to do. So do you want to walk us a little bit around the car, and let's just sort of show it?
So the goal is from the outside for the car to be kind of a sleeper. So I chose a color that was sort of almost gray, almost blue, almost green, almost silver, so that if people were instructing police on how to find me, they might give them the wrong idea. And outward, you'll just really see the laser jammers up in the front. There's a radar detector built into the emblem, but we got laser interceptors here and some blinders down here that are compatible with the passport system. HID headlights in addition to the factory xenons, just to make things bright. We're run off the road slightly in Arizona, and so we lost a fog light in almost our lives, but we survived through it. Obviously a lot of rock chips and battle scars, but it survives to this day. In the back, we have all of the extra fuel, because obviously minimizing stops, a big part of that is not having to stop for gas. So the stock tank's 23 gallons, and each of these are 22. We just had transfer pumps that wired together and then routed it in through the filler neck. So what we would do is several different, we do 4 10-minute transfers per tank. So keeping track of that and how we'd done it was quite a task. But
so you had a team with you. You didn't do this by yourself.
Overall, it took 29 people doing different things between prepping the car, building the car. We had people scouting ahead of us that would lead us by 100 or 150 miles just to keep us, aware of what was ahead. So the real interesting part is on the inside. So let's go over there.
All right, let's take a look at that.
All right. In here, we've got everything that you would need to go really fast across the country. So I've got a custom switch panel here to control our auxiliary fuel pumps, just turn on the radar systems, run everything off of battery power, kill my rear lights, and then control some of the laser and radar systems. So we turn everything on, and it powers the whole world up. Here you've got a CB radio and a police scanner. Those correspond to the antennas in the back. Our main timer, just to kind of keep track through time changes and things, was right there. Ran an iPad with Google Maps. We've got antennas on the top of the dash for the satellite part of the scanner and passport system. This is an ambulance traffic light changer that's controlled by a button down here. It only works in certain states that don't use special encoding, but it does work where it works. Some additional power outlets for phones and things like that to run Waze, Trapster, which doesn't exist anymore but was useful back then. Readouts for radar systems up here, and then we mount phones and things of that nature on this side. Had a third-party GPS tracking device underneath. That's those wires down there in the floorboard, along with obviously a lot of navigation systems and things of that nature. So generally you wanted it to feel, so the driver could just look at the road and the passenger and support passenger could help direct, navigate, and take all the load off of anything except go real fast.
So there were 3 of you actually in the car at all times. And did you rotate drivers?
Yeah, so 2 of us drove, and Dan, who rode in the back and has the best cop spotting eyes behind binoculars that I've ever seen. Oh, he's unbelievable. And so it was important to have a third person, even though for legitimacy it seemed appropriate to just use 2 drivers, just so that we could have a few minutes of sleep and generally kind of stay aware.
What else about the car? So the car is pretty much stock. Well, there's nothing to
Engine is stock, yes.
Engine is stock.
If you try to do it in a big modified car, it's so taxing on it that the reliability kind of comes into question.
Break,
exactly. We had to relocate the spare wheel to the back seat because obviously it's normally stored under the trunk floor, which is the obstruction of the fuel tanks would have been an issue in such a circumstance. But,
What's up, guys? Dr. M3 here with Ed Bolian. Ed, tell us about yourself and why are we standing in front of this car?
Well, we're standing in front of the 2004 Mercedes CL55 AMG that I used in 2013 to set a new world record for driving from New York to Los Angeles.
That was funny, your dad's out.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
All right, go for it. I thought you were grabbing the ladder for me. I was going to say, you're a dick.
Getting it from you?
For me.
Oh,
so I can stand taller. No, I was kidding. At least short jokes. It's all right.
How do you continually do that and continue to get away with doing how
Don't give him any ideas.
No, you're not doing thinking. Oh yeah, totally. Transition.